I watched my brother, Ethan, slip the last syringe into Mom's arm that final night in the hospice. His hands steady as a surgeon's, but his eyes, God, his eyes were dead, like he'd already buried her twice. He whispered, "This is mercy,
Claire."
for all of us," and I nodded, because what else could I do when the morphine vial in his pocket was half empty from the night before? But mercy?
No.
That was the lie we both swallowed. The one that choked me for years until I realized it wasn't overdose that killed her. It was theft. His theft. And I'd carried the guilt like a second skin. The courtroom air hung thick with the scent of stale coffee and polished oak. Every eye in that packed gallery pinning me to the witness stand like I was the criminal, not the victim. Ethan sat at the defense table, his Armani suit crisp as his smile, leaning into his lawyer like they were old poker buddies bluffing a full house, while I gripped the Bible so hard my knuckles bleached white, knowing one word from my mouth could shatter his empire, or mine. And then I said it, the hook that snagged them all. Your Honor, my brother didn't just steal from Mom's fund, he killed her with it. And I've got the receipts to prove he made me his alibi. The gavel cracked like a gunshot. But it was too late. The whispers erupted into a storm. Reporters scrambling for their phones. And Ethan's face, oh, that flawless mask, cracked just enough for me to see the boy I'd once idolized. The one who'd sworn we'd always have each other's backs. Staring back at me like I'd plunged the knife myself. I grew up in the cracked asphalt sprawl of suburban Detroit, where the factories belched smoke like guilty confessions and families like ours clung to the American dream by our fingernails. Mom worked double shifts at the auto plant, her hands calloused from welding seams that held Fords together, while Dad vanished into the ether of bad decisions and even worse whiskey when I was 8. Ethan was the golden boy, 3 years my senior, captain of the football team, valedictorian whisperer, the kid who could charm a nun out of her habit.
Me?
Claire the quiet one, nose in books, dreaming of escaping to some coastal college where the air didn't taste like rust. We weren't rich, but we scraped by on Mom's grit and the occasional side hustle, Ethan mowing lawns, me babysitting the neighbors' hellions. Cancer hit her like a freight train when I was 22. Fresh out of community college with associates in accounting that felt as useful as a screen door on a submarine. Stage 4 pancreatic, the doc said. The kind that doesn't mess around. Mom fought like a cornered Wolverine, chemo sapping her to bones and ghosts. But she never complained. "We're Harrisons," she'd rasp through the pain, her voice like gravel under tires. We endure. The fun started as a Hail Mary. Neighbors rallied. Coworkers passed the hat. Even the church ladies baked pies for a bake sale that netted a couple grand. Ethan and I set up the account in Mom's name, simple savings at the local Chase branch. $80,000 in the end. A miracle stitched from pity and small-town solidarity. I handled the books because numbers don't lie. Don't ghost you like people do.
Ethan?
He was too busy climbing the ladder at that flashy law firm downtown, schmoozing clients with golf swings and backroom deals. The kind that smelled like old money and fresh ambition. I noticed the discrepancies first. A withdrawal here. $5,000 for medical supplies, another $10,000 for travel expenses. Mom was bedridden by then, hooked to machines in our cramped living room, the hospice nurse popping in like clockwork. I confronted him one rain-slicked evening, the wipers on my beat-up Civic slapping rhythm against the downpour as I pulled into his driveway in Bloomfield Hills, his McMansion a far cry from our sagging rancher. "Ethan, what the hell? That's Mom's lifeline." He lounged on his leather sectional, a tumbler of Macallan in hand. His wife, perfect, Plastic surgery Lauren, giggling in the kitchen over some TikTok. Claire. Relax. It's fluid. I'm investing it. High-yield stuff. For her treatments. Yeah. But think bigger. When she beats this, and she will have double. Trust me. I wanted to. God. I did. He was Ethan, the brother who'd taught me to ride a bike without training wheels, who'd held my hand at Dad's funeral when the casket lowered into that muddy grave. But the numbers gnawed at me. A rat in the walls. I started digging. Quiet-like. Because accusing family in Detroit means painting targets on your back. Bank statements pilfered from his trash. Ironic. A lawyer's carelessness showed transfers to offshore accounts. Shell companies with names like Harbor Investments. Not a cent touched Mom's care. It was fuel for his Ferrari. Seed money for Lauren's boutique. Bribes for partnerships that greased his path to partner. And then the overdose. That night in the hospice. The monitors flatlining under the weight of too much morphine. Ethan swore it was accidental. His hand shaking as he called 911. Me hovering in the doorway like a shadow. The coroner ruled it complications from advanced disease, but I saw the vial. The dosage log fudged in his elegant scrawl. Mercy, he called it later. Over whiskey in a dive bar off 8 Mile. His breath hot against my ear. She was suffering.
Claire. You saw it.
I ended it quick. I nodded. Because the alternative was screaming. Was admitting I'd let him play God with her last breaths. But guilt? It rooted deep. Twisting like the cancer itself. I covered for him. Alibis to the nurse. Tears at the funeral that sold the grief. The fund? Drained dry by the time we buried her. $80,000 vanished into his ether. And I said nothing.
Why?
Because family. Because in the Rust Belt, you don't rat on blood. Even when it bleeds you dry. Years blurred. I clawed my way into a mid-level gig at a nonprofit in Ann Arbor. Auditing grants for underfunded clinics. A poetic justice that paid peanuts but let me sleep without the ghosts.
Ethan?
He ascended. Partner by 35. Rubbing elbows with the auto barons and state senators. His face on billboards hawking justice for the just. Lauren popped out 2 perfect kids. Trust fund toddlers with monogrammed onesies. We drifted, holidays strained, calls sporadic, but blood's a stubborn stain. It cracked open on a Tuesday in July. Heat wave turning the city into a skillet. My phone buzzed during a staff meeting. Ethan's number. Voicemail laced with urgency. Claire. It's bad. IRS audit. They're sniffing around old accounts. Family stuff. I need you to adjust some records. For Mom's fund. Say it was legit withdrawals. You're the executor. Your word's gold. I laughed. A bark that turned heads in the conference room. Adjust? Like tweaking a carburetor on a 72 Impala? But this was fraud. Federal flavors. The kind that lands you in big house stripes. He called again that night. Lauren in the background cooing to the kids. His tone shifting to that Big Brother velvet. Come on, sis.
For old times.
You owe me for covering the... You know, the end.
The end.
Her end. My stomach roiled. Bile rising like Lake St. Claire in a storm. Owe him? For the lie I'd worn like a hair shirt?
No.
That night, I dusted off the shoebox in my closet printouts. Emails. The damning ledger I'd compiled in secret. A forensic autopsy of his greed. It wasn't just theft, it was premeditated, wires traced to Cayman banks, even a payment to a consultant who specialized in end-of-life consultations. Euthanasia. Off-books. The mercy that wasn't. Rage bloomed. Slow at first. A coal in my gut fanned by every memory, Mom's laugh echoing in the kitchen. Her hands braiding my hair before the chemo stole her strength. Ethan. Always the charmer. Now the serpent in our garden. I hired a PI on credit. A grizzled ex-cop named Rizzo who chain-smoked camels and cursed like a sailor. This ain't just embezzlement. Kid, he grunted over greasy diner eggs. It's murder wrapped in money laundering. Your brother's a goddamn hydra.
Hydra. Fitting.
Heads of lies sprouting faster than I could chop. But I did. Evidence piled. Audio of Ethan coaching Lauren on alibis. Texts to bookies covering gambling debts he'd funneled through the fund. The overdose? Not accident, deliberate. To silence Mom before she twigged to the missing money. Her hazy questions in those last weeks about, where's the kitty going? The audit ballooned into a federal probe. Whispers of RICO charges because Ethan's firm dabbled in shady real estate flips. He lawyered up. A shark named Hargrove with a rep for devouring whistleblowers. Subpoena hit me like a sucker punch. Deposition in federal court. Detroit's hulking courthouse on Jefferson Avenue, where the ghosts of Motown greats mingled with the damned. Ethan cornered me in the hallway before the hearing, his cologne cloying as his grip on my arm. Claire, don't do this. Lie for me. Say it was all above board. For the family. The kids, they worship their Aunt Claire.
Kids.
His get. Innocent as lambs, but lambs fattened on stolen marrow. I wrenched free, my voice a whisper honed on years of swallowed screams. Family? You killed her, Ethan. And you made me your ghost. He laughed, low and disbelieving, that golden boy gleam flickering. Killed? Dramatic much? It was kindness. And the money? Business. You'll thank me when you're not scraping by in that shithole apartment. Kindness. Business. The words ignited something feral. A decision crystallizing like frost on a windshield. I wouldn't just testify, I'd eviscerate. But revenge? It's a double-edged blade. And as I walked into that courtroom, evidence burning a hole in my briefcase, I wondered if I'd bleed out first. The judge. A no-nonsense black woman named Rivera with a stare that could curdle milk, called order as the gallery swelled, reporters from the Free Press, neighbors I'd known since knee socks. Even Lauren in the back row, her Botox mask cracking under mascara rivers. Ethan took the stand first. Poetry in motion, remorseful sighs. Tales of a troubled youth funding a sister's education me. The prop. The fund a misguided investment for Mom's legacy. Lies. Slick as Crisco. My turn came, heart hammering like AV8 under the hood. MS. Harrison, the prosecutor drawled. A Fed with a Boston accent and eyes like laser sights. Did your brother ever access the account without authorization? I paused, the room holding its breath. Ethan's gaze boring into me like a drill.
Lie.
His eyes begged.
Lie.
And we're square. But squares are for honest folks. Yes, I said, voice steady as the Detroit River. He drained it. All of it. And when Mom asked why her treatments were shortchanged, He ended her questions. Permanently. Pandemonium. Objections flew like confetti. The gavel a thunderclap. Ethan lunged halfway across the bar before Hargrove reeled him in, his face purple as overripe plums. Lauren sobbed theatrically. But her eyes? They darted to the exits, calculating escape vectors. Evidence dumped. Ledgers projected on screens. Wires highlighted like veins in a corpse. The gallery gasped at the overdose log. The consultant, invoice stamped with a clinic in Toronto that specialized in compassionate care. Murder? Not legally, yet, but manslaughter wrapped in fraud. A cocktail that could net him 20+. As they let him out in cuffs for processing, he twisted, mouth foaming Shakespearean curses. You bitch. After everything, I did it for us. For us. The lie that birthed this beast. But as the doors clanged shut, a hollow victory settled in my chest, chased by the chill of what came next. Because revenge isn't a straight shot. It's a boomerang. And mine was arcing back, hungry for more. The week's post-testimony blurred into a fever dream of headlines and hate mail. Sister slays sibling. Detroit's dark family feud, screamed the Detroit News. My face pixelated beside Ethan's mugshot, looking less like a hero and more like the villain who smiled for the camera. Social media erupted, justice for Ethan trending in Michigan pockets. Trolls demanding me pics of nooses with captions like, family first. Traitor. Lauren went full scorched earth, unfriending me on Facebook, as if we were ever that close, and leaking voicemails to the tabloids. My voice warped into vindictive ramblings. I hunkered down in my Ann Arbor walk-up, blinds drawn against the paparazzi drones buzzing like angry hornets. Rizzo, my PI, became an unlikely lifeline, dropping off burner phones and takeout from his favorite Coney Island joint, loose beef heart, fries drowned in chili, the comfort food of the betrayed. Kid, you poked the bear, he'd growl, ketchup staining his tie. Bear's got claws. Watch your six. Claws indeed. Ethan's arraignment was a circus. Federal courthouse ringed by protesters waving signs. False accusations destroy lives, and blood is thicker than lies. His supporters, clients he'd saved from DUIs. Frat bros from U of M days, chanted his name like a litany. Inside, Hargrove spun gold from sewage, motioned to suppress my evidence as fruit of the poisonous tree, claiming I'd hacked his accounts. I hadn't. Trash is fair game. Bail set at a cool $1 million. Posted by a concerned benefactor, some auto exec Ethan had once buried a hit-and-run for. He called me collect from Wayne County Jail. Voice tinny through the line. Stripped of its polish. Claire. This is insane. You gotta recant. Tell them you fabricated it, all of it. Heat of the moment. Grief talking. I'll make it right. Offshore money's still there. We split it 50-50. Split it. Like we were kids divvying Halloween candy. I laughed, the sound echoing hollow in my empty kitchen. Right? You mean the money that bought Mom's silence forever?
No.
Ethan. Rot. He pivoted, voice cracking into that boyish plea I'd fallen for 100 times. Please. The kids. They're asking why Aunt Claire hates us. Lauren's talking divorce. Says I'm toxic. I need you.
Toxic.
The word hung, a mirror to my own poison. I hung up, but sleep evaded. Nightmares replaying Mom's last gasp. Ethan's syringe glinting like a serpent's fang. Was I the monster? I'd borne a sin for years. The secret of her mercy killing a lead weight that sank my 20s. Therapy? A joke on a public defender's salary. No. This was my expiation, dragging him into the light. Even if it scorched us both. The twist came via certified mail. Innocuous envelope postmarked Bloomfield Hills. Lauren stationary. Her looping script like barbed wire. We need to talk. Coffee? Neutral ground. I almost torched it. But curiosity's a cruel mistress. We met at a Starbucks in Novi, midway between our worlds, hers of Botox and Botox, mine of bus passes and bulk ramen. She looked wrecked. Foundation caking lines that hadn't been there pre-scandal. Diamond studs dimmed by the fluorescent buzz. "You're ruining us," she hissed over lattes. Voice a stage whisper that turned heads. Ethan's innocent. The money? It was for investments. Mom would have wanted it legacy, not some pity pot. Innocent. The word curdled my soy milk. Legacy? He OD'd her. Lauren. To cover the theft. Her eyes narrowed. Manicured nails drumming the table like Morse code for malice. Proof? Your evidence is circumstantial. And that overdose? Ethan told me everything. You were there.
Claire.
You handed him the vial. Complicit. If he goes down, you swim with the fishes. Complicit. The accusation landed like a gut punch. Winded me. Flashes. That night. My trembling fingers passing the morphine because she'd begged. Make it stop.
Kids.
Please. Ethan had escalated the dose. Yes. But I'd enabled. My silence the second betrayal. Lauren leaned in. Perfume cloying as cyanide. Drop it. Or I go public. Your role in her death. Front page. Sister's secret. Mercy or murder? Blackmail. Served iced. I left shaking. The drive back a blur of minivans and billboards Hawkinson casinos. Quickie divorces. Home. I pored over the files. Rizzo's addendums. Lauren's own fingerprints on the fraud. Emails authorizing transfers to her business account. Schemer. Flipping loyalties like pancakes. But her threat gnawed. Expose me, and the narrative flips. Hero to co-conspirator in a heartbeat. Decision time. The kind that forks your soul. I could fold, recant, let Ethan slither free on a plea. Us bound in mutual destruction. Or double down. Weaponize her complicity. Turn the screw until the whole rotten edifice crumbled. Controversial? Hell yes, dragging a wife. A mother. Through the mud for her husband's sins. But justice isn't polite. It's a street fight in the D. I fed Rizzo the Lauren leads. Anonymous tips to the feds. Within days. Her subpoena landed. Her boutique's books seized for laundering fronts. She retaliated vicious. Texts from burners. Veiled threats. Watch your back.
Claire.
Accidents happen. Paranoia bloomed. I installed cameras. Slept with a canister of mace by the bed. The American nightmare weaponized. Plea negotiations leaked via a source close to the defense. Hargrove's doing? No doubt. Ethan copping to embezzlement. 15 months probation. Restitution waived for cooperation. Manslaughter? Buried. My evidence insufficient. Rage boiled over. I crashed the next hearing uninvited, slipping past security in a borrowed pantsuit, heart pounding as I stormed the bar. Your Honor, I shouted, voice raw as 8 Mile asphalt. He's buying his way out. Lauren's in it too. Check her emails. Chaos. Bailiffs wrestled me back. Ethan's glare a promise of hell. Rivera adjourned, her eyes pitying as they cuffed me for contempt. 30 days. A slap to teach manners. In the holding cell, concrete biting my cheek, I laughed through tears. 30 days? Worth it to see Lauren's face crumple. The Hydra's second head lolling. But isolation breeds clarity. Or madness. Letters smuggled in, Rizzo's updates. The feds circling Lauren like sharks. And one from Ethan, penned in his lawyerly flourish. You win this round,
sis.
but blood calls to blood. When I walk, we'll talk family, really talk.
Walk.
The arrogance. Assuming absolution. Released after 22 days, good behavior.
Ha.
I emerged gaunt, a specter in khakis. The city autumnal now. Leaves bleeding red like accusations. Reporters swarmed, but I had eyes only for the horizon. Trial date set. Full jury. The real showdown. Prep consumed me. Mock crosses with Rizzo, who played Hargrove with gleeful sadism. MS. Harrison, isn't it true you resented your brother's success? Jealousy. The great motivator. I'd counter with facts. Cold as Lake Huron. Timestamps. Signatures. The vile serial matching a black market by trace to Ethan's Amex. Yet doubt whispered, polarizing. This revenge. Neighbors who donated to Mom's fund now shun me. Whispers of stirring the pot for attention. Online. Forums debated. Team Ethan for the flawed but forgivable brother. Claire the Avenger for the whistleblower warrior. No heroes. Just shades of gray. Decisions that split the soul. Climax loomed. That courtroom date in December. Snow dusting the avenues like powdered regret. I suited up. Briefcase heavy with addendums. Lauren's flip. Her deal with prosecutors for immunity. Testifying against Ethan in exchange for a misdemeanor. Betrayal's echo. Her maw now devouring him. Opening day. Gallery packed tighter than a Black Friday sale. Ethan, shackled but suited, nodded at me like we shared a punchline. Lauren took the stand first, tear-streaked but composed. Spinning tales of coercion. He forced me. Your honor. I was scared.
Lies.
But effective. Jurors leaned in. Maternal instincts pinging. My testimony followed. The room with a pressure cooker. He stole her life twice, I said, voice cracking on the edge. Money first, then breath.
And I
let it happen. Until I couldn't. A cross-exam, Hargrove eviscerated, painting me hysterical, grief deranged. You claim murder. MS. Harrison. Yet no body showed overdose. Your evidence? A sister's vendetta. Vendetta. The words stung true. As recess hit, Ethan passed close, whispering through the scrum. Drop it now.
Claire.
Or the kids learn their aunt's the real killer.
Kids.
Again. The lever. But levers break. I straightened. Met his eyes dead again. Like that night with the syringe. No more ghosts. Brother. Yours or mine. Afternoon session. Bombshell. Rizzo's final gift. Slipped to the prosecutor, a recording. Ethan's jailhouse brag to his cellmate. Yeah. I juiced the dose. She was gonna blow the fund wide open. Mercy? Sure. If mercy's self-preservation. Gallery erupted. Judge banging for order. Ethan's mask shattered. Hell primal as he lunged, bailiffs swarming like hornets. Lauren bolted. Heels clacking escape. But cameras caught her flight. The flip complete. Yet as they dragged him down, screaming my name like a curse, a chill settled. Victory? Or the abyss staring back. The jury deliberated 3 days. Detroit hunkered under a blizzard. The city holding breath with me. Verdict day dawned brittle. January's bite frosting the courthouse windows like a bad omen. I'd aged a decade in months, lines etched deep as the Detroit River scars. Sleep a luxury rationed by nightmares of mom's eyes, accusing in their final glaze. Rizzo met me curbside, his Crown Vic idling like a faithful dog. Jury's out. Word is, it's split, holdouts for leniency, bleeding hearts for the brother.
Split.
Like us. The Harrisons, fractured china and no glue could mend.
Inside.
The Galleria powder keg, Ethan's dwindling faithful, my ragtag allies, nonprofit colleagues, a nurse who'd tended mom. Lauren? Absent. Her immunity deal sealed in a plea bargain. Boutique shuttered. Kids shipped to her parents in Grosse Pointe. Schemer to the end, flipping for survival. Rivera entered, robes swirling like a judge's cape in a noir flick, jury filing in solemn as pallbearers. Foreman, a burly union guy with calluses like mine, stood, on count one. Embezzlement, guilty. Murmurs rippled. Count two. Fraud, guilty. Ethan's head bowed. A theater of defeat. Count three. Involuntary manslaughter. Not guilty. Not guilty. The words hollowed me. A gut shot without the mercy of death. Manslaughter hinged on intent. And Hargrove's spin. Accidental overdose amid grief. Stuck. My recording deemed coerced. Inadmissible on a technicality. 20 years for the financials. Sure, restitution. Fines that'd bleed him dry. But her death? Slid free. A ghost unavenged. I staggered out into the snow. Flashes popping like gunfire. Reporters shouting. Claire? Thoughts on the manslaughter acquittal? Thoughts? A scream bottled since mom's flatline. Now uncorked in sobs that bet me double. Rizzo bundled me into the Vic. Heater blasting feudal warmth. It's something.
Kid.
He's done, caged like the rat he is. Something. But not enough. The drive home blurred. Wipers slapping accusations. Complicit. Vendetta. The kids, Ethan's spawn. Innocent collateral flashed in my mind. Their Christmas cards and sign now. Lauren's doing. Had I orphaned them of a father for a mother's ghost? Polarizing. Yes, the forums exploded post-verdict. Free Ethan surging with sister's lies destroyed a family, countered by mom deserves justice chance. No winners. Just wreckage. Decisions debated over diner coffee and cable news panels. Ethan's sentencing loomed a month out. A formality in the federal pen upstate. He wrote once more. Letter smuggled via a guard pal. You got your pound of flesh.
Claire.
But flesh rots. Visit me? For closure. Closure. The myth we chase, like fool's gold. I burned it. Ashes scattering on the wind off Huron. But the pole gnawed. Rizzo warned off. Snakes bite from cages. Yet family, blood siren call, drew me north. A greyhound slog through Michigan's frozen veins to the visiting room. Plexiglass thick as regret. He looked diminished. Orange jumpsuit swallowing his frame. The golden boy leached to gray. Sis, he rasped through the grill. Voice stripped bare. You came. No hugs. Just stares. Mirrors to our shared ruin. Why? I asked. The question a decade late. The fund.
The end.
Why? He leaned in, eyes wet. Not with lies this time. Started small. Debts from law school. Lauren's tastes. One dip.
Then.
Addiction. Mom found out. Confronted me. Fix it.
Ethan.
Or, I tell Claire. I panicked. The morphine, it was there. Easy. Mercy. Yeah. but mostly fear. Of losing it all.
Fear.
The Great Leveler. American as apple pie laced with arsenic. And me? Covering?
You used me.
He nodded. Slow as confession. Knew you'd protect the family. Always the good one. I'm sorry.
Claire.
Truly.
Sorry.
The word hung. Insufficient as snowflakes melting on skin. I searched his face for the boy who'd shared secrets under porch lights. Found echoes drowned in the man. The kids. I pressed. Lauren flipped, testified.
There.
Adrift. His laugh. Bitter as chicory. Karma's bitch.
Huh. Tell them.
Aunt Claire loves them. And Mom, she'd forgive us both. Forgive. The twist I'd never seen coming. Not from him. As the buzzer sounded, ending time, he pressed a hand to the glass. Mine met it. A phantom touch across the divide. Right, he said. Keep the story alive. But live yours, too. Bus back south. Miles unspooling like thread from a frayed seam. Forgiveness? Not mine to grant, not yet. But the rage? It ebbed. Leaving a hollow I filled with calls to Lauren. Tentative bridges over the chasm. For the kids, I said, her voice thawing fraction by fraction. Supervised visits. Playgrounds in neutral suburbs. Tiny hands in mine thawing the frost. Spring greened, Michigan tentative. Factories humming rebirth. My nonprofit gig evolved, advocating for caregiver protections. Mom's legacy laundered clean. Ethan's appeals crawled, years stacking like cordwood. But letters came, updates on prison law clinics. A brother's redemption arc. Scripted or sincere. The real twist? Not his confession, but mine to a therapist finally. Spilling the vial's weight. The complicity that mirrored his crime. You both chose silence, she said. Notepad neutral. But you chose truth. That's the line.
Truth.
Controversial still. Did I avenge or annihilate? Forums faded. But debates lingered in bar stools and family Thanksgivings. No consensus. Just the American mess. Betrayal's cost. Revenge's bill.
Ending?
Not happy. Not tragic, just enduring. Like Harrison's do. Last letter from Ethan. Postmarked Milan, federal lockup. Not Italy. Claire. Parole hearing next year. Testify for me? Not absolution.
Just.
Forward. I folded it away. Undecided. The boomerang returned, but blunted. Outside. Detroit stirred, river flowing relentless. Factories forging new seams. I stepped into it. Lighter. The ghosts quieter. Blood calls to blood. But sometimes, it whispers, let go. Or not. The choice. Forever mine.